I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Trustees Executive Committee to order. May I request that everyone mute your cell phone or Blackberries? Thank you. CUNY TV is transmitting the public session of this afternoon's meeting of the Board of Trustees Executive Committee live on cable channel 75. The meeting is also being webcast live at www.cuny.edu/livestream, providing service worldwide via personal computers. The meeting will be available as a podcast within 24 hours and can also be accessed on the CUNY website. I want to express my appreciation to my fellow trustees for attending this meeting. As you know, all trustees are welcome to attend any meetings of this committee, and we welcome Trustee Shorter to this afternoon's meeting. We appreciate your being here, Charlie.
Thank you.
We will first matter is the approval of the minutes of the Executive Committee meeting of September 23rd, 2014. You have a copy of the minutes, of the draft minutes in your meeting folders. Are there any comments on the minutes? May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are adopted. I would like now to move the following resolution. The City University of New York, approval of Startup New York participating business. Resolved that the Executive Committee of the Board of the City University of New York approve the selection of On-Force Solar Incorporated to participate in the Startup New York program through Bronx Community College. The president of Bronx Community College and the general counsel are each authorized to execute and submit all documents that are necessary or useful to effectuate On-Force's participation in the program. On-Force's participation in the program shall be subject to all university and New York State requirements. All program documents to be executed for the university shall be subject to approval as to form by the Office of the General Counsel. Explanation: the program authorizes the creation of tax-free zones on eligible university campuses in New York State for new and expanding businesses. 5 CUNY campuses, including Bronx Community College, have been designated by the board to participate in the program. CUNY campuses other than the 5 designated by the board may apply to host tax-free zones in competition with other universities. Tax-free zones may be located within eligible college campuses, affiliated business incubators, certain off-campus space affiliated with participating colleges. Businesses located in these tax-free zones will be generally exempt from state taxes, including income paid to new employees of such businesses. To participate, businesses must be either a startup or a high-tech business, must create new jobs, must not compete with any existing business within the immediate community, but outside the tax-free zone, must be aligned with or further the academic mission of the host campus, and must provide positive community and economic benefits. Businesses applying to participate are subject to approval by CUNY and the New York State Commissioner of Economic Opportunity. The 5 campuses the board has designated are permitted to include an unlimited amount of campus and affiliated space in the program. CUNY has worked with New York State Empire Development Program, which administers the new program, to solicit potential businesses on an ongoing basis, and the college identified On-Force as offering a particularly strong fit for its academic programs. Pursuant to university policy, On-Force was evaluated and recommended for selection into the program by a committee of college and central office staff and by the college president and the vice chancellor.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? Due to a building collapse and fire downtown, we've been receiving complaints about the smell. It has been investigated and determined that it's cause of the smell. And we are making adjustments to rectify the situation. I repeat, it has been, and we are making adjustments to rectify the situation. Thank you for the inconvenience.
On-Force was evaluated and recommended for selection into the program by a committee of college and central office staff and by the college president and the vice chancellor for facilities, planning, construction, and management. That's the resolution. May I have a second? JB, do you want to say a few words about this?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the motion, a second. I won't say much about this. We have a thorough presentation today that Vice Chancellor Bergstrom will lead off with. This will be the first time that we've come to this board at this stage for an approval. We're excited about participating in this program, which is one of the governor's signature economic development and innovation programs for the state. As you know from newspaper accounts, I'm sure CUNY has had a number of startup programs underway now. We are excited and working with the presidents at each of our 5 lead campuses. I have just been in conversations over the last week with representatives from Medgar Evers College, York College, College of Staten Island, and City College on their prospective programs. So I think this is a tremendous opportunity for us, for each of the 5 boroughs. And it is a way to not only provide for economic development in New York, but to provide opportunities for our students as interns, our graduates for high-paying jobs, and all in all, a great position for CUNY campuses, I think. So with that, I think Judy would turn it over to you.
Okay.
We look forward to the presentation.
As you know, in November of 2013, the CUNY Board of Trustees designated 5 campuses, New York, Bronx, Medgar Evers, City College, and the College of Staten Island. Recently, there have been some discussions about the implementation. To address the concerns, we have created this presentation in 3 parts. First, we'll describe the program, its process. Then we'll provide the legal parameters and safeguards put into place to limit CUNY's liability and describe the other government entities that are charged with monitoring, compliance, and enforcement. Third, and probably the most important of all, we'll describe the benefit of On-Force Solar Partnership at Bronx Community College. Now, this is a long presentation, but I think it'll give you, the Board of Trustees, the information that we need to move forward and to approve the additional programs when they come here. Okay. This is the goal. The goal of Startup New York is to create tax-free zones on eligible university campuses in New York State. Businesses will have the opportunity to operate state and local tax-free or near academic campuses, or their employees will pay no state or local personal income tax. Okay, a qualifying business, and it's a business that's in the formative stage. It has to create new jobs. It can't compete with any other businesses. It must be aligned with or further the academic mission of the campus, and it must provide a positive community and economic benefit. So let's talk about what businesses are appropriate for this program. The qualifying businesses need to have employees, inventory, or profits to take advantage of the major tax benefits that define the program. Many true startups are not ready for this. Secondly, the business will most likely have to either pay rent to a private landlord or make improvements to vacant space. In either situation, The business will need credit, a guarantee, or a source of funding not typical to a startup. There are, however, situations where new businesses are well-funded, are offshoots of other established entities, or headed by a person with both experience and skills that CUNY is interested in sponsoring. As I mentioned before, 5 campuses in economically distressed communities have been designated for the program, including 1 from each borough. The 5 of the designated campuses may contribute an unlimited amount of space to the program. Now, this is a list of potential affiliation benefits between the colleges and partnering businesses. So it's a very long list, but I'd just like to point out the affiliations that On4 Solar will have with Bronx. It will have paid internships, teach a course for free, assist faculty in updating curriculum, and the donation of specialized equipment. And as we bring other businesses in front of you, there will be different combinations. The program has many, many administrative requirements. The steps involved for a business to join the program is outlined on the slide. The section in orange on the left are the items which the college works on. The college identifies an eligible business to partner with and a location for the business to be identified at their campus. The campus plan is first submitted for a 30-day public review and then for ESD's approval. Next, in yellow, the business submits their application to the college, which includes a commitment to the affiliation benefits the college will have. In green are the CUNY's approval process. Step 5 is the CUNY Sponsorship Committee. The CUNY Sponsorship Committee includes representatives from the Provost Office, Research, Continuing Education, Business Development, Business and Industry Relations, and the Controller's Office. The CUNY Sponsorship Committee met on March 4th of 2015 and voted to recommend On4 Solar. We are now at step 6. And by the way, many people, I think Jillian was on the committee and Julia was on the committee. We are now at step 6, CUNY's Board of Trustees approval, which will vote to approve the selection of On4 Solar for the startup program. Next, the entire application will go to ESD and the Department of Taxation for approval. Now I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to basically turn it over to Richard Nadio from the General Counsel's Office, who will walk through the legal regulations which dictate the program, and the variety of backstops and protections provided by the regulations, and the additional indemnifications we require of the business in exchange for our support of the application.
Thank you, Judy. My name is Richard Nadio, and I'm an attorney in the Office of General Counsel. I'm going to speak about the legal and compliance framework of the Startup New York program. I will speak about the legal requirements of the program for participating businesses, where these requirements are found, and what entities manage the program. The program is governed by state law, and so the program requirements are found in state statutes and regulations. Many of the program requirements appear in Article 21 of the New York State Economic Development Law, and in state regulations, and in program documentation that have been issued by New York State Empire State Development. Under the law, Empire State Development manages the startup program, monitors business compliance, and enforces the program's requirements. So we'll go to the next slide, and I'll speak about some of the major program requirements. I want to just note that the benefits under the program are discretionary. That means if a company is eligible for the program, it does not guarantee that they can automatically participate and receive tax benefits. Interested companies must meet eligibility requirements, but also have to be approved by both ESD and CUNY to participate in the program. This means that CUNY is able to choose among eligible businesses based on, among other things, the sponsoring college's academic programs and priorities. As I just mentioned, companies have to meet a number of statutory requirements to be eligible for the program, and I will walk through some of the more significant requirements now. First, in order to be eligible, companies must be a startup or a high-tech business, which is broadly defined in the regulations. Companies must be new to or expanding in New York State. Companies must show that they will create new jobs in the tax-free zone. This is a critical part of the program, and companies must commit to creating a specific number of new jobs. We'll see later that companies can be terminated from the program by ESD if they don't meet their job goals. Companies must support the sponsor's academic mission, such as through scholarships, developing courses, teaching classes, providing internships, or other affiliations that the college may require. Companies are also required to comply with worker protection, environmental, and tax laws as part of the program. There are two other additional requirements that were mentioned previously. The first is that companies have to show that their participation would have positive community and economic benefits. This can include bringing jobs to an area, diversification of the local economy, providing opportunities for training, or having synergies with local businesses. Companies also cannot compete with other existing businesses within the surrounding community and outside the tax-free zone. Certain types of companies are prohibited from participating in the program, such as retail and wholesale companies, restaurants, real estate brokers, law firms, medical practices, accounting and finance firms, and others that are outlined in the law. So, with the next 3 slides, I will speak about where the program requirements can be found. We will see that the program's requirements appear in state law and regulations, in business application forms, and in supplemental agreements between CUNY and participating companies. First, we'll take a look at the major provisions of the regulations on the next slide. Empire State Development, which oversees Startup New York, has issued comprehensive regulations that govern the program. The regulations contain the business eligibility requirements that we just discussed. The regulations also give audit rights to Empire State Development, the Department of Taxation, and the Department of Labor. Under the regulations, companies are required to file compliance reports with ESD and report the actual number of jobs created under the program. The regulations also provide consequences for a business's defaults under the program and give Empire State Development enforcement powers. These enforcement powers include the reduction of tax benefits and suspension and termination from the program. The regulations also provide serious consequences for fraud. If ESD determines that a business has acted fraudulently in the program, ESD can terminate the company from the program and require that the company pay back all tax benefits received. Criminal penalties may also apply to acts of fraud in the program, including the crime of offering a false instrument for filing. Companies that are interested in the program must complete a business application that contains many of the program requirements. This form has been issued by ESD. As we saw on a previous slide, applications are first submitted by companies to CUNY, and if the application is accepted by CUNY, then CUNY must forward the application to ESD for its review. When filling out the application, companies agree to the requirements of the program. In the application, companies must provide the number of jobs they are committing to add each year for the next 5 years. The business will also describe how it will support the academic mission of the sponsoring campus. The business must also agree to the consequences for failure to create the projected number of new jobs, such as reduction of tax benefits and suspension or termination from the program. The law also provides that once an application is approved by both CUNY and ESD, the application is a binding contract under the law. On this next slide, we will see that CUNY is permitted to supplement the terms of the business application with additional provisions that CUNY may want to require. We are not required to do this, but we believe it's a best practice to help clarify the company's obligations to the campus and to better protect the university. For example, a supplemental agreement can clarify the academic support the college will receive and give specific milestones for performance. It can also clarify that CUNY has the ability to recommend to ESD that it terminate the business from the program for failure to meet the academic affiliation requirements. We'll talk about this more in a moment, but the agreement can also address any additional requirements for off-campus transactions. The agreement can also require that the company provide CUNY with insurance and indemnification, and that the company protect any student information to which it has access through the academic affiliation. In the next slide, I will discuss compliance and enforcement under the program. We have touched on compliance and enforcement throughout the slides, but I wanted to summarize this again because it's an important point. The program is managed by Empire State Development, and CUNY does not by itself have the power to choose companies or remove companies from the program. Applicant companies are also reviewed by ESD. ESD receives compliance reports from participating companies to monitor their job growth, and ESD has the power to enforce the program requirements. When ESD receives a business application from a sponsoring college, it will actually run a compliance check on the business. ESD will confirm that the company has no outstanding state tax arrears, that it maintains workers' compensation, disability, and unemployment insurance, and that it is registered to do business in New York State. Notwithstanding this, CUNY does have a limited role in compliance. Once a business is in the program, the sponsoring college will administer the academic affiliation with that business. The college will work with the business to obtain the benefits of the affiliation set forth in the business application and the supplemental agreement. Again, CUNY cannot unilaterally terminate a business from the program. It can inform ESD of a failure by a business to meet the requirements. ESD would investigate this failure and would be responsible for enforcement.
Now I'll turn it over to.
Well, I have a couple more.
Sorry.
It's okay, sorry.
Sorry.
When Judy said the presentation was long, I think she was talking about my portion of it. So we'll now move on to the next slide, which relates to using affiliated space in the program. This page summarizes one additional component of the program that further reduces the risk to CUNY. Under the law, colleges can include in the program on-campus space and also off-campus space that is owned or leased by an affiliated not-for-profit entity. Under this structure, CUNY is not in the chain of title and therefore does not bear the risk associated with holding real estate or acting as a landlord. Instead, an affiliated not-for-profit entity would own or lease the property and then sublet the property to the participating business. Some examples of possible not-for-profit entities that could affiliate with CUNY for this purpose include the New York City Industrial Development Agency, the Brooklyn Navy Yard Development Corporation, and other local economic development entities. The company we are discussing today, On4 Solar, will actually be occupying this type of affiliated off-campus space. On4 is entering into a separate transaction with the New York City Industrial Development Agency, which will provide On4 with certain real estate tax benefits that are not available under startup. Under that transaction, the IDA will hold the leasehold interest in the property in order to convey real estate tax benefits to On4 as part of the IDA's industrial incentive program. This is a separate program from startup that provides incentives to industrial companies making capital investments in New York City. The IDA will act as CUNY's not-for-profit affiliate for purposes of startup and will enter into an affiliation agreement with CUNY. And that is my portion of the presentation. Thanks.
And the last portion, which is not as long as that portion, probably the most important part, the affiliation with the school. President Marti.
Well, this is going to be really a long presentation. I have to speak longer than this week.
No, you don't.
I'm really delighted. We are the first of the CUNY colleges that is engaging in this important economic development exercise. I really, truly believe that Bronx Community College is a lead college in terms of being the economic development engine of the Bronx. I'm fond of saying that we're the only college in the Bronx that has Bronx in its name. And because of that, I think we have the responsibility to provide real jobs for the people of the Bronx. I can tell you that the Borough President and I have had many discussions regarding the development of employment for the people of the Bronx, and I think this is going to be tangible evidence of the fact that our college is at the forefront of this initiative. I know that a lot of people have worked in creating this. I have with me people who really know what they're talking about regarding this association. And first of all, I have to thank Vice President Eddie Bayardell, who is, he and I are dangerous together because we have very similar thinking about economic development and entrepreneurial activities, and I think he has been extremely instrumental in attracting this company to the college. So thank you, Eddie, for that. And to his left is David Wallace Beavers, who is the governmental relations individual, but is also the point person talking with On Solar. And to my right, last but not least, is the connection between the business community and the college, and that is Dean Luis Montenegro, who has been recently appointed Dean of Academic Affairs, and he is a former department chair of engineering. He knows exactly what is going on with the company, and I'm going to introduce first Eddie, if you want to say something. No?
No, it's a long presentation, so please go.
Well, I mean, we have to fill the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to really be the first college to participate in this endeavor. And I think being first is really important, but it also has its challenges. I think the first slide really indicates our college's criteria for partnering with a company in this program. The most important thing, the most important benefit really for us is to ensure that our curriculum is relevant and it's moving in the direction that provides opportunities for our graduates to seek and find that first important professional job. So our collaboration with Startup New York, in our minds, really fits this criteria. First, to expose our faculty to emerging trends in the industries, in this case, in the solar industry, that this partner represents, align our non-degree professional and continuing education programs, and particularly our academic programs, to this emerging trend in the solar industry with this company's expertise in collaboration with our faculty leaders is really crucial. And have this company president as well serve in the advisory committees for programs that are aligned to those career areas. I think the most important thing, however, is to address the mission of our college, which is to really prepare our students to be ready for the workforce and to really have significant professional, that first professional job. So I think that this company meets all those criteria.
Where is the affiliated space that it's going to be located on?
Home Street.
740 Home Street.
Off campus.
How far is
Off
that
campus.
from the, is it near the campus?
Yeah, it's about 4 miles.
Okay,
It's about 5 subway stops south on line 4.
okay.
But you may also want to talk about the building that they're renovating.
Well, that's the last slide.
That's the last
So I'll
Okay.
let David take the lead on that
No,
one.
no, go ahead. Keep.
So this is what On4 Solar has committed to develop and to work with us. That they're committed to develop several courses, first on the non-credit side, and to offer them on a no-cost basis to BCC on the non-credit side initially, and then to commit to, if there's alignment with credit-bearing courses and programs, to transfer them over to academic programs.
Let me interrupt there for a second. We're very interested in creating what they call stackable credentials, and that is for people to come in on a non-credit basis, have the experience, convert that to credit, and move into the associate.
I'm a numbers person, so just back of the envelope calculations, I estimated that just the creation and the offerings of those courses would be probably an in-kind support from On4 Solar of about $200,000 over the 10-year period. They also have offered internships for students at a minimum to about 4 internships per semester, and that also may include the summer sessions. Again, that would, in my estimations, over a 10-year period, come out to about $340,000.
So those will be paid internships.
Paid internships for the students, which provides the much-needed salary for that particular much-needed population, but also the really relevant work experience that they would need to place themselves for employment once they complete it. And it gives the company a chance to really vet those students to consider them as first line for applications in their jobs. So this is a list of the course offerings that they're proposing at this point. Some of them are already been developed. Some of them are still in the development stage. And we think that, again, the first cycle of development and offerings will be on the non-credit side. those that we feel are relevant and aligned with our credit-bearing programs, specifically our energy services and technology curriculum, will be embedded in those programs in the near future. I reiterate, they have offered to teach those courses at no cost to BCC. I indicated already that that comes at an in-kind benefit to about $200,000, not counting the revenue that would come by non-credit students enrolling in those courses. They also are preparing to donate a $250,000 solar array, which provides multiple benefits to the campus. It's right now the proposal is to use it to heat our indoor pool, which serves our physical education courses. So there are clear savings over the 10-year period and beyond, but also it reduces the carbon emissions signature of our campus. They've also already donated $50,000 to our Business Foundation to support general scholarships to the students in the college. And over the 10-year period, it'll, in essence, build a fund of about $150,000 that can remain beyond the agreement that we have with that company. Again, to provide scholarships for students. Without, at this point, we need to clarify with them what the particular population of students that will be served by this, but at this point, we're leaving it open. So this is a slide of what they typically themselves set up for companies, and they've offered to do this for the campus. So the $250,000 solar array is really a full service effort. They do the installation, they do the maintenance over the 10 years, again, at no cost to the college. They do estimates of campus sites where the array is to be located, and then the integration with the grid that it'll be connected to. And it'll serve both for, in the installation phase, it'll serve both for training for students enrolled in those relevant courses, and it also clearly then be a physical benefit to the campus once it's installed. David, would you speak about 1040 Home Street?
Yeah, well, this is the building. So originally, when we started entering this partnership, we looked at doing a location on campus, which proved difficult for a variety of reasons. So working with Charles Fight, the CEO of Enforce, we then began to explore the option of off campus. And this is the building, and it's in a great location for a number of reasons. It's 2 subway stops away from 125th Street, so proximity to Manhattan is obviously key if we want to attract businesses and companies to come up to the Bronx. And where it's located, it's right near the transit hub. So you have 87, 95. You could easily get there from Connecticut, New Jersey, and also from Westchester. So we'll just go through this. We all toured the building. Megan Mulgrew is also there. It's a shell, it's a gut renovation, and I think you'll be highly impressed. So you want to continue through?
This is actually the only slide that we put up of the renovation and the.
Oh, okay, so, so the total project is about $8 million that Enforce is investing in our private-public partnership. It's going to be a complete high-end technology building. We did have renderings which show the use of it, but it's going to have a rooftop, and it's going to be ideally a joint use, an open space, kind of like a WeWorks business model, but video conferencing and anything that you can need sport tech businesses. And it's a win for the college, and also with the curriculum they've developed, we're going to be bringing our students to train in this high-tech facility. So it also enhances the offerings of VCC to have a facility like this at our disposal.
So I think we've covered the 3 pieces.
Okay, let's see if there are any questions for, yes.
Before you do that, I just want to introduce my staff. Dana Sunshine and Megan Mulgrew have basically been my staff, the central staff that have been working on it, and they've really done a terrific job, I think.
And clearly, this is something that we couldn't have done by ourselves. Thank you very much for your help.
I can't remember if I called for a second before.
You did.
I did, okay, okay. Do any of the trustees have questions for any of the people who've just spoken?
I wasn't exactly clear about how many students will be participating, and are these senior level students, and how does the curriculum benefit the population that is Bronx Community College?
Right. In the agreement, there are approximately 12 students per year supported for internships, about 4 per semester, and including the summer. The curriculum that we have right now that is most aligned with this program is rather small. And the challenge has always been that either the natural individual interested in a program like this is somebody who's already in the field. He would rather seek a short-term training rather than a full 2-year degree, or somebody coming straight out of high school. The program has slowly gained traction with the high school counselors, but it's difficult to sell a program without having a clear employment end in mind, or incentive for students to engage in a program that will lead to an internship. I think the collaboration with On4 Solar will in fact allow us to do that. If we have Charles be part of the discussion that we have with the high schools, and we're engaging in that vigorously at this point, then high school counselors will see the benefit of having the students around a program like this. The program is rather small. This affiliation would really leverage our ability to recruit students into the program, and as well as expand the non-credit offerings to also address the needs of those that may need modular short courses, but that we don't really have at this point for that particular skill set.
And you mentioned job creation. Are there any requirements that the jobs created are, that residents of the Bronx get first priority in getting those jobs?
Yeah, if I may, one of the things we looked at with this partnership was to make it as robust as possible, as you've seen through the affiliation agreement. And with On4 Solar, they're a rapidly growing, expanding company, so much to the fact where the CEO, Charles Fite, has had to hire a recruiter in-house to fill these jobs. So, yeah, what you asked before, how would this serve our students and the population we serve? These are real jobs. They're going to have state-of-the-art training in the industry. We're going to be able to offer through continuing ed, and then later on develop it through our credit-bearing side of the house. But these are jobs for Bronxites, and that's really our mission, is to partner with a company that's growing. So the internship numbers we gave were just on the smallest possible level, just to have a minimum. But there's a huge need there, just across the board. And one of the things that we're dedicated to is making sure that our students who go through the internship program, he'll cherry pick the best ones, best fit for the company, and this will allow them to, stay in the Bronx and make a decent wage, and to add a benefit, not paying tax on their salary.
To add to that, the demographics of our student population, both on the credit and non-credit side, is overwhelmingly from the Bronx. There's a percentage of students that come from Upper Manhattan through primarily the area around 180th Street, but the predominantly majority of the students come really from areas in the Bronx, primarily the number 4 train, really where the subway connections are.
Okay, so I think it's a wonderful program. I would just hope that we as a board get follow-up that the Bronx Community College students have, and its residents have been have been the beneficiary of this investment.
Two quick questions. One, piggybacking on Trustee Beal's question, which I think you've answered. Paid internships do not equal jobs necessarily. They're not the same. That's number one. And number two, your jobs in your application, your projection of jobs created, therefore do not necessarily mean Bronx Community College students. That's just clarification, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so the projection of jobs. And the second question relates to the process and the steps that were up before. I gather ESDC collects the compliance reports. I did not see that CUNY got to review those compliance reports or are part of that. Is that in fact the case? Council?
We are not required, the company is not required under the regulations to provide CUNY or any sponsoring campus with the compliance reports.
It only goes to ESDs.
It goes to ESD, but the compliance reports only cover the jobs created under the program, not the number of jobs created under the program. So that's the main component of the program that ESD monitors and enforces. However, we will, in terms of the obligations to the college will be on the ground and monitoring that relationship and that affiliation, so they will know that whether or not they're getting the benefits or the support that the company agreed to.
And if I could answer the first question, I mean, the benefit of having Charles and technical experts in his company develop a curriculum that addresses the particular needs of his industry will really be the way that our students can ally themselves best to end up getting those jobs. So one of the things we're considering is for students that are applying for internships, they really must partake in the training that the curriculum that has been developed by that company and offered through their staff on their side and our side at the college, to make sure that those students, when they enter the internships, they qualify to work within that industry. Clearly, having them be part of the development of that curriculum is crucial to ensure that those students have the right skills, because they're really vetting them on the education end, but also on the internship when they see the actual work experience.
At what point would CUNY see the compliance reports that ESDC gets, or would we?
We could
Request?
we could require it actually in the supplemental agreement that I talked about in the presentation. That's something we could add to the supplemental agreement, and it would be not an obligation under the law, but it would be a contractual
Well,
obligation.
since we don't have enforcement powers, it would be for information purposes only, I do believe.
Be contractual.
Sorry?
We could sue them for breach of contract.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
That's important, but.
Well, I think we should include such a
Yeah.
provision, because I think we want to be able to have a good sense of what the impact is that these businesses are having on jobs as well as on the academic mission of the college. So I think that should be added to the supplemental agreement. Can you, Richard, see if that's done?
Yes.
Okay.
Just one last question. I assume that the faculty have embraced the introduction of outsiders in the curriculum design process, and I mean, I'm not using the correct language, but however, the faculty ultimately designs curriculum, as we've learned.
Right.
I assume that they have embraced all of this and are up and have no objections to it.
Maybe I can take my hat off as dean and put my hat on as chair. I'm on loan from the Physics and Technology Department as of as of a month ago. I was the coordinator for that program in the department, so I still have some oversight over the development of curriculum in that program. So I work closely with the faculty in the department, and I was chair of that department for about 7 years, so I still have some influence to guide the curriculum development there as well. So I think we do have clear connections and clear common interest in making sure that program really is aligned with the needs of the industry, and this is the great opportunity to do that.
David, you mentioned that the building was a gut renovation. Can you tell me a little more about, like, how big is that building? Is it property owned by,
Yeah,
us?
it's approximately 20,000 square feet, and the building was purchased for about $3 million, and then the rest is the renovations that are going to go into it.
And how long has it been under renovation, and is it completed? or-
They're just closing now. That should be done any day now. It's imminent, and then construction will begin as soon as that's done. But all the contractors are all set
When is anticipated completion?
by June 1st.
By June 1st, okay.
Who owns it?
It's ambitious.
Is it, and we own it? CUNY owns it? No, we don't own it. Who owns it?
Business.
The
The
business.
businesses own it, okay.
But it's designated in our campus plan as our off-site location for the tax-free zone.
And at the end of, presuming startup doesn't continue forever, at the end of that period, then that property belongs to who?
To the business.
So it will only be this business for the whole duration of this program, is that
Correct.
correct? Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
I just want to add a little bit to the faculty side, because I think it's important. If we're successful in having a strong partnership with the academic side of the house, as we do this non-credit stackable credential process, I think this could be the beginning of other relationships in by the college with business community and the faculty. And I think we're very fortunate that Luis is here, because he straddles that fence very well. If you can get it done, you can get it done here.
Judy, can I ask, have other businesses applied for Startup New York positions on our campuses?
Well, there's a process. They have to basically apply through the state.
I see.
And then we interview them. And this, I would say that this business is probably going to be the most highly developed business that basically comes to CUNY. This business is growing. I think he has 50 employees. He estimates he's going to have 100. So businesses apply, we interview them, and then we decide.
And how many businesses have applied other than On4?
Many, many,
Many.
like hundreds.
Oh, okay. Hundreds? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
There's a state database.
Yeah, okay, okay. Joe, did you have a question?
Yeah, Chairman, I'd like to follow up on your questions, and let me just also state that I will vote in the affirmative for this, because...
Yeah, I will too. I strongly support
The
it.
tenor of my question may lead people to believe that I won't. I don't understand why so much detail is being brought to the trustees. In my 14 years as a member, I've never seen a discussion this long and this detailed about anything, including pathways or tuition increases. And in light of the fact that there are hundreds of programs that we've just heard about, are we setting a new level of micromanagement on the part of the trustees that I think should be delegated to management?
Joe, the answer is JB and I decided on that given that this is the first time the trustees are being asked to approve a Startup New York, and that there will probably be many others, that on the first time we would go through it pretty carefully and try to provide a pretty good background. We will not go through the same stuff again the next time we're asked to approve a Startup New York. But we thought, given that this was the first time through, that it would be a useful general briefing as well as useful for the particular question before us.
We may allow Richard to come to the meeting, but he'll only be here to answer questions.
Are you ready for the question?
Aye.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, On4 is adopted. Let me move now a different resolution concerning the transfer of the Brookdale property to the City of New York. Resolved that the Executive Committee of the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York authorizes CUNY to cause the transfer of the Brookdale campus to the City of New York. And further resolved that the Executive Committee authorizes CUNY in connection with the transfer to amend certain master agreements dated as of July 15, 1986, May 25, 1994, August 16, 2000, January 22, 2003, among the dormitory of the State of New York, the City University Construction Fund, and CUNY to withdraw the Brookdale campus from the same and procure any necessary approvals for such amendment. And further resolved that the Executive Committee authorizes CUNY in connection with the transfer to notify the Commissioner of General Services of the State of New York and the Director of the Office of Management and Budget of the City of New York that the Brookdale campus has ceased to be used for senior college purposes. And be it further resolved that the Executive Committee authorizes CUNY in connection with the transfer to request that DASNY transfer the Brookdale campus to New York State, and that the state transfer the Brookdale campus to the city pursuant to a confirmatory deed. Further resolved that the executive committee authorizes the execution by CUNY of all agreements, notices, certifications, taking of all actions in connection with the transfer, subject to their approval by the Office of General Counsel. And further resolved that the executive committee authorizes CUNY to request that CUCF, the commissioner, the director, and the city and/or the state concur in the manner of the transfer, and resolve finally that the executive committee requests CUCF to authorize and execute documents related to the transfer desired by CUNY, including those in connection with the withdrawal of the Brookdale campus from the master lease. You may recall the explanation for this is that CUNY has entered into a public-private project with Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center to acquire certain vacant land at 525 East 73rd Street from the New York City Economic Development Corporation, and to jointly develop that 73rd Street property. We had approved that project previously on June 25th, 2012. It was calendar item 6D. The project provides that CUNY's contribution to the acquisition of its portion of the 73rd Street property will be the transfer of the Brookdale campus to the city. So this resolution is to authorize and implement such a transfer. May I have a second? JB, do you want to say anything about this? This has long been in the works.
It has been long in the works, and if you thought the last explanation was complicated, fasten your seatbelt. But I'm going to, you're very familiar with the set of agreements that's resulting in this action, and I'll turn it over to Rick Schaefer for any comments and to answer any questions about this item.
The process of getting rid of property is a complicated one. That's why there are 8 different resolved clauses. But the bottom line is that this property is going to the city, and in return, the city is giving to Memorial Sloan Kettering and CUNY the property, 73rd Street, for this joint project. And this is what's necessary to accomplish it. Happy to answer any questions.
Well, Rick, this resolution doesn't say anything about how the East 73rd Street property is going to be funded when there's construction on it.
That's correct.
So that'll come back to the board, facilities committee, and then the board when that project is ready to be presented.
That's correct.
Okay.
I've forgotten, I know I was involved in some of the motions here, but is this a straight land swap, or was there a value affixed to the Brookdale campus dollar value?
There was also $100 million in capital appropriation that the city has given to CUNY.
For this project?
Correct.
Oh, so we get $100 million for Brookdale.
Right.
Well, that's
the
good.
question I'm really asking.
For anything, not.
No, it's for this project. It's dedicated to several pieces of this project.
So it goes towards the cost of construction?
It's also for the cost of renovating. The School of Nursing of Hunter will have to temporarily be relocated. They're going to be relocated into a building at LaGuardia Community College. So part of the money goes to that build-out. Once a new building is built at 73rd Street, that build-out will then be available for LaGuardia Community College to use. So it's an ongoing and permanent use.
As I recall, the East 73rd Street building is going to be an advanced science research, medical research type building. Is that right?
Well, that's the Memorial Sloan Kettering side of it, and our side is the Hunter School of Nursing, as well as its physical therapy programs and scientific research space.
Do we know what the city's going to do with the Brookdale campus?
Well, one of the things that this is connected to is that the city needs to build a new sanitation garage. There had once been a sanitation garage on the 73rd Street site, which hasn't been there for many years. but the city was committed to creating a new sanitation garage within this particular sanitation district. And so the RFP from the city, which Memorial Sloan Kettering and CUNY jointly bid on, was to, required that the bidder or the proposer offer property for a sanitation garage. So we know at a minimum that there's going to be a sanitation garage down on that.
Other questions on this resolution? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The resolution is adopted. That takes care of the public business that we had, but JB, do you want to give us a brief update on where the budget situation stands in Albany?
Sure, very briefly, and then if there are any questions, that's why Matt Sapienza is here. As you probably know, been reported that the governor and the Assembly and Senate are working to wrap up the budget by the March 31 deadline. I think recently speculation that it'd be done Saturday night. Some of our team is in Albany today. I've been there earlier this week. We're working hard on a set of highest priorities with regard to the CUNY budget. The shortfall in mandatory costs like fringe benefits and step increases in building rentals. Trying to get a robust maintenance of effort provision, which would include collective bargaining obligations for CUNY. An attempt to increase beyond levels set in the one House bills for the Assembly and the Senate, the base funding for community colleges to get it back to the pre-2009 levels. As you know, you approved a request of $250 per student for that. To increase the level of critical maintenance funding, which is in the introduced bills, less than the board's request, and to increase the maximum TAP award, which is some significantly below senior college tuition levels now. So those are the main monetary items in the budget. We have, of course, also advocated strongly for the adoption of the DREAM Act and for some changes in what are substantive legislative matters relating to university governance issues that were in the budget bill. And so we're continuing to work with all three entities on those matters. Be happy to answer any questions about it, but we will continue to work hard on this over the next few days to try to get those numbers in a position that will allow us to support CUNY and allow CUNY to support the state of New York.
Mr. Chancellor, is ASAP back in any of the budgets as a line item?
It was in the Assembly budget in the one House, not the Senate. You know, in the larger scheme of things, that 1.7 million for ASAP is a junior partner in the funding of ASAP at the community colleges. We, of course, requested that that be restored and hope that it is.
Any questions? Matt, do you want to add anything?
No.
On the
Okay.
DREAM Act, could you just tell me what the implications are if it's not passed?
Sure. There's been a lot of public coverage of the DREAM Act and announcements that it won't be taken up as part of the budget. We're certainly hopeful that post-budget, the legislative session that will continue through June, that the DREAM Act will be taken up and discussed, and as the Chancellor said, we certainly support that. So if it's not in there by April 1st, which all indications are it won't be, doesn't mean that the legislature and the executive branch won't continue to discuss it.
But the I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mike, I thought that we do it ourselves.
It has no implications passing it or not passing it to City University, because I thought we, as a trustees, have decided to implement what the act would put in place, so.
No,
That
that's
was my question.
not correct. We have a policy pursuant to state law that provides in-state tuition for students who've graduated from New York City high schools under certain conditions,
Right.
regardless of their immigration status. So undocumented students, if they qualify, get the benefit of in-state tuition. They do not, however, receive TAP awards.
Right, the TAP awards. I stand corrected.
Let me follow that up, because in addition to the DREAM Act, several other items may not be addressed in the budget resolution over the next few days. One of them we've heard recently relates to the rational tuition, which has been front and center from the State University of New York, and also the resolution of the maintenance of effort issues that are connected to rational tuition. So those may be dealt with later. Finally, probably the largest issue that's very important to us, which is the support for collective bargaining, probably not done in the budget. We've certainly advocated that it would be, but it's very likely that could be addressed later in the session in a pay bill separate from the budget. So there are certain of these elements that if you don't see them in the budget that comes out on the 1st, we're still going to be working on them this session.
JB and I have a statement that we jointly are making on the budget that we'd like to pass out copies of, just so you all can, it's quite brief. Any other questions for JB or for Matt on the budget? Well, good luck. The next few days are critical, huh? All right, if there are no further questions, I'm happy to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.